Um, there's our announcement. I'm Melissa Hanson. I am one of the co-first vice presidents for the League of Women Voters Nashville, and my co-host Karen Weichert, who is on the West Coast celebrating grandbaby births and weddings, and so she is not able to join us today. But we are very lucky to have Councilwoman Joy Stiles with us. So I am glad to have a break from all the blare of electioneering and things and hear about some good stuff happening in Nashville. Some brand new developments in Councilwoman Stiles' district. And so I'm going to just turn it over to you and allow you to introduce yourself. Tell us about how you got involved with our Davidson County Metro government, and what are some of the things that you're looking forward to in your tenure?
So thank you very much, first of all, for having me. I'm excited to share all the great things that are happening in District 32 in Antioch, but also things that I'm working on for the entire county. So I am now in the second year of my second term, and it has been very interesting. I came in, and 6 months into my term, a tornado hit, and 5 days later, a global pandemic. So I did not have a traditional first term at all. We spent our first term really putting out fires daily, just to keep the city moving. And so it's interesting to be in a term where the city isn't on fire. And I'm kind of looking at it like, oh, so this is what a regular term is like. This is different. Okay. So prior to being in office, I had no political aspirations whatsoever. I was in entertainment. I was a recording artist, and I was an actress and a songwriter. I lived in New York for 10 years doing off-Broadway plays, musicals, film, and TV. And then I moved down here and I was a country artist. So it was actually 10 years ago that my album and single came out. So it is very interesting how life changes. And I really feel like I was led to come down here, and this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be serving and trying to get things done for the city and for constituents here in Nashville. So I'm excited, and I am looking forward to the next 3 years. We have a lot of work to do. I know everyone is nail biting to your point. We have 5 days before Tuesday, but it's been really exciting out here to watch the lines of people. Last night, people willing to stand in the rain to be sure that their vote was counted. So that's an exciting part of the process for sure. And if you want me to
Great. Yeah,
continue with
yeah.
some other
So
things, I'm happy.
we'll have to have a whole separate conversation about your entertainment background, but that's really, and it's so um, typical makes it, downplay. It is such a wonderful thing about running, meeting people in Nashville is hearing about their backgrounds and how they ended up here. And sometimes it's a very common thread to that the entertainment, music, theater, acting, stage performance, recording is such a big part of everyone's lives here. Everybody knows somebody who's in the business. So
This
cool.
is true. I really didn't think about, again, I wasn't thinking about politics at all. The only aspiration I had since I was a kid was to live in New York and work. And so moving to the South was a big change. Very different, a much better work-life balance here in Nashville than in Manhattan or on the East Coast.
Sure.
And so when I got out of business, I built a house, and I immediately wanted to know, okay, what is this neighborhood about? Is there an HOA? I didn't even know when I purchased that there was an HOA. So I found out, and the president of the HOA stopped by my house and said, "Would you like to be on the board?" And I said, "Well, yes, I would like to know what's happening in my neighborhood." And so I joined the HOA. That was an interesting experience with the current HOA members, I ended up becoming president and started beautifying our neighborhood, redoing bylaws, looking at things that the neighborhood needed that neighbors were mentioning, and walking around door to door to get votes, because I'm sure many of you that live in a neighborhood that has an HOA and you need to get 2/3 of a vote in order to get anything passed or amended. So I knocked doors in the summertime to get signatures, which is funny when you think about it. It was just a precursor to the future, I guess. Um, and I realized in the midst of that my district and my neighborhood had the same needs: better leadership, more communication, more transparency, more accountability. And so I said, you know what? There's so many things that my area needs, and I don't feel like we have good representation and representation that we're able to communicate with and consistently know what's happening. And so I ran. And as a first time candidate, I won. Um, I was out sun up to sundown in the rain, in the blazing heat. And it's been really exciting to be able to effectuate change for the city and also for my constituents. And I still say the most exciting thing that I've done was getting my senior citizens a crosswalk and a flashing light when I got in office, because one day I was driving down a road and I saw two of them holding hands to cross the street for safety. And that was just heartbreaking. And so getting that crosswalk and the flashing light installed, really, they cheered so loudly when I did a community meeting at their facility. So it's the
Yeah.
little things, but are really big things.
Right, right. Yeah. And I think sometimes citizens, maybe get caught up in the idea of, oh, I can't make a difference, or, only the loud money, loud voices with a lot of money for, big developments and businesses call all the shots. But those little things like the crosswalks, like better lighting on the streets, like sidewalks, like
Potholes.
speed calmers, and yeah, pothole repair, cleaning up, some of the overgrown vegetation that gets up on the right of ways and things like that really improve the quality of life, everyday life for
Mhm.
people is
I'm
so
glad you
important.
I'm glad you said that, because that's what I consider myself in terms of a public servant. The issues that I ran on and that I have done legislation for since I've been in office have been quality of life issues. So when I ran on beautification, because I can't stand trash and litter, and community engagement, because we are the most diverse part of our city, and oftentimes we're still living in silos. And you can talk to someone and say, well, I have a Hispanic neighbor over there or an Egyptian neighbor over there. And it's like, okay, well, do you know their names? Do you know anything about their culture? Because you're living in the same neighborhood. So if you're in a neighborhood, that's your opportunity for community. So I actually created an event called Southeast Community Day, and we give away pre-packed backpacks to the kids, and we celebrate the diversity of Antioch and Southeast Nashville. We have a parade of nations. We do multicultural food, multicultural music, and it's just a day for the community to celebrate how much fun we are. And then my last thing was economic development. So
Yeah,
that's really what
yeah,
ties into why you invited me here today.
yeah, yeah.
Got Century
Well,
Farm.
and I live Antioch adjacent, I guess you'd say. I'm in the Glencliff neighborhood at
Oh yeah.
Nolensville and Thompson Lane. And I see some great things going on at Coleman Community Center right now. They're doing a little improvements in the outdoor space there. And last year, I decided I got to get out of the house. I got to see more of this side of Nashville. And I went ice skating at the facility over there on Hickory Hollow. And, I'm like, I should do this more often. People really need to. I encourage everyone to get out and do all the things that are really vibrant kinds of activities like these festivals. The Mexican Heritage Day was just recently, at Plaza Mariachi, back in August, I think it was, and it was, just wow, so many people, and really interesting to
We
part of
are a
that
very
neighborhood.
vibrant community. And
Mhm.
that's what I like to convey to people that haven't really spent time in Antioch. I think we, and justified in many ways, have had a poor reputation. I think there was a period of time when the area went downhill significantly, but we are very much on the upswing. And so with the construction and opening of Tanger outlets, we have Tiger Woods Pop Stroke, which is a golf product, in the lane of a putt-putt. That's going to be opening next summer. We still have a big retail space that's going to be built over there, and we're going to be building a town center, which will have more retail and more dining options. The goal being for us to be a live, work, and play area, because for over a decade, we have been a food and retail desert. And so all of those things are now shifting. And so, of course, we're revitalizing the global mall as well. We'll be getting the Antioch Performing Arts Center. We're going to be building artist housing. We'll have an open green space with some retail around it, a daycare center. I'm working with 50 Forward to get our very first 50 Forward location in Southeast, and also looking to bring some tech and innovation to the site, some biotech. So, and Starwood is the last big project that I have. And so I'm hoping in the next few months to be able to announce the plans.
Great, great. Well, yeah, I guess we needed 2 hours today to talk about all that stuff. But yeah, I saw with great interest the story about the new Chinatown development and some of that, and the impact that it will have on that neighborhood. And I know that, um, I guess that's why don't we just go on with your presentation about what we can expect and what you're looking forward to, and then we'll have an opportunity for some questions
Okay.
and yeah.
Well, Chinatown is actually across from the backside of the mall. So it's all working together for it to be a community oriented and cultural space. And I think when we're all finished with the projects that are going on right now, we'll be the second urban core for the city, because our development, we're going vertical. So we'll be going vertical on the mall site. We're going vertical as well on at Century Farms. So it's going to have a very different feel than what most people are accustomed to in their memories of Antioch. So I'm excited about this revitalization. It's going well. Tanger's doing well. And so you introduce Chinatown, and this gives people another reason to come to Antioch. And that's one of my focal points during my time in office, is to give people reasons to come back again.
Yeah.
And when I was running, the very first person that I met with was Butch Spearden, who was over the Visitors and Convention Bureau at the time. And I asked him, I said, I've gone on your website and I've looked and seen that you have several neighborhoods listed on the website, but you don't have Antioch. And he said, well, give me something to put there. And I said, okay, challenge accepted. And we now have an Antioch page. And so Chinatown will be another addition that will be able to go on that page as a reason to come out here, specifically because we are international. So a lot of the things that are on that page are Guatemalan food, Mexican food, Indian food, African food, the Southeast Community Day event, our new Millridge Park, which is 600 acres, and then we'll have Chinatown listed as well as a reason for when visitors come, spend time downtown, of course, but then also come out and see what's in Antioch, because of course Tanger Outlets is also listed there as well. So Chinatown, the developer, came and spoke to me. Let me share my screen. Give me one moment. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Okie dokie. You go up here. So Tennessee, Nashville, Chinatown. And so if you'll look at this design, Sherry Maj, you can see here, that is the broker that came to me and pitched the idea. She is one of the investors as well, and shared with me that our Asian community was really looking for a place to set down roots, and they'd been looking for years. And I had a piece of property that was available, and they came and they asked and said, would you be interested? Would you help us do a rezone and get a PUD canceled? I said, you had me at Chinatown. I grew up outside Philadelphia. And of course, as I was saying, I lived in Manhattan before I came here. So being able to go to a Little Italy or a Chinatown was part of my experience. So to be able to have that close to where I live now is pretty astounding. And so they had a beautiful plan. And if you look at this logo, it's actually in the shape of a guitar. So here's the bottom of the guitar. And as you move over, there is the fret. So if you're looking here, for those of you that are aware, so here's I-24. This is the Red Lobster that's right on the corner of Bell Road and Hickory Hollow Parkway. And this used to be a Starbucks. This was a logistics company. And so they purchased all of this property. This white building is going to be a supermarket. It is a chain out of California. It's about 35,000 square feet. And in it, we will have a food court that's 3,500 square feet, which I am so excited about. And I'll be there all the time. So as I show you the slides, you'll see there's a building that's going to go here. There's another building here and potentially a smaller building here. And right along here will be a traditional Asian gateway. So you will drive through it to come into the site. And there will be another gate either back here in this corner or a little bit over here, so you can see it very well from 24, so you know that you're close to Chinatown. All right, so here's our first rendering. You can see they're in the process right now. They actually held a community party at the end of September in this large building where the grocery store is going to be, to celebrate its future. At a big party with food and lots of guests, and it was just open to the public. It was very nice. You can see here the back two buildings that will ultimately be along 24. 24 is right here. So this building is going to be community focused. There'll be meeting space in there. I believe a couple of cafes, but the majority of retail will be in this building here. There will be a nail salon, a clothing shop, a mini spa to be able to go to as well. We're working out all of the parking because if any of you are aware, any project with Nashville is predicated on the parking spots. So here's a front image of the grocery stores. You can see they're marrying modern architecture with historic and traditional architecture from China. And if you look closely, let me see if I can. You can see some of the intricate design work that'll be over the main entrance. Here is the name of the supermarket, Pan Asia. Let me make this just a little bit bigger. Let's get back to where we were. Okay, so I was told there's going to be a butcher shop inside. There will also be a fresh fish market, in addition to regular grocery shopping, and of course the mini food court that I was mentioning before. Pretty amazing to be the largest Asian grocery store in Nashville. So I always like being the first. So here's another view of the two buildings that I mentioned to you. As you can see, it was one of the conversations is how to handle parking with the topography. So it's a possibility that parking would drive down behind the building to give some additional parking spots. So you can see here that this is a traditional building in terms of style from Asia, and over here a modern building. So it's marrying old and new, which I also like very much. This, as you can see, is where the gate is going to go. It's going to be beautiful. And this building here is going to be a fast Asian spot. So pretty much Asian fast food, Korean fried chicken, because it's being called Chinatown, but it will also feature other Asian culture. So you can see 10 Asian restaurants that will go in those other buildings. Bubble tea, sushi, hot pot. I'm still very excited about the spa and massage. We do not have any of those products in my district currently, so it's going to be wonderful. This will be a great way to leave office. This should be done by 27, just in time for me to say ta-ta. And then, as I was saying, Sherry Ma is the individual who came to me and presented the project. And then Rita, also one of the investors, they have both come and presented to my community meetings to share this plan and get the community on board. And these are the other individuals that are participating in terms of design work. And then here is the QR code. If you want to scan over that, you can get some more information. So 100,000 square feet on a little under 5 acres, pretty amazing. And if you look at the fourth bullet point, you'll see the creation of 300 jobs and up to 500 full and part-time jobs after it's finished.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great investment for the community. And and the job creation too. I know that people are often concerned, about new developments and what's it gonna do to existing business, and how are these going to be jobs that are accessible for people with less that don't need extensive academic or previous experience, but are jobs where people can gain skills and be able to have transferable skills for other areas as well. I think and I'm especially we've the food desert kind of thing with supermarket access is a real issue for Nashville. And you know how long it took for East Nashville to get any supermarkets that, and they're still I mean, the neighborhoods, the Casey redevelopment area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's been wonderful, but all of the things, and I'm sure you talk about this a lot in the planning part, is getting all of the things to mesh at the right sequence, like transportation, like infrastructure to support it, like is this going to require additional law enforcement presence, or do we have capacity in all of our neighborhoods to make sure that not only are we creating improvements, but we're able to sustain them and make that accessible for all, residents of the area.
Well, I will tell you one of the things that I look forward to is this also provides our youth with an opportunity to get work after school.
Mm-hmm.
So many conversations taking place now are about what are kids doing after school to keep themselves occupied, and a good job after school is a great opportunity. And
Yeah.
so this also, it exposes you to different cultures. So to be
Yeah.
able to work at Chinatown, you'll get a chance to have great food, meet new people, learn about new and different cultures. And I think that's really important as you're talking about shaping your worldview and perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. That's yeah. That it's now. I think probably you've also had, maybe some concerns raised about, the recent kind of turn of events at like Plaza Mariachi with the developer, and
Yes.
which is very unfortunate. I'm not quite sure how that impacts the actual, it's still open, uh, but so what are you doing to kind of counter some of those things, that that argument of, well, yeah, that this is not a long-term thing, that look at,
Well, I
naysayers who
don't
say,
think
look at what happened to Plaza Mariachi.
But I don't think that's an apples and apples comparison. I
Okay.
think that's apples and oranges, particularly because in the situation with Plaza Mariachi, the owner was already in legal trouble when he built Plaza
Oh,
Mariachi. In fact, that's how he ended up getting in trouble, because his other companies that were on Nolensville Road, he was embezzling money to funnel it into opening Plaza Mariachi. And so that's where the federal case was. And then he resolved some of those issues. But ultimately, with Plaza, apparently there was a default on a loan. So he had purchased that whole site. So Plaza's in the center, but there are two shopping centers strips on the sides. So he sold those to pay off the debts for Plaza. So it was wonky to begin with.
okay.
And so that's very
Yeah.
different. These individuals don't have any issues. They have been designing this site. We have local business owners that are involved, that are doing well, that are not engaged in questionable practices. And so I don't think we'll have any issues at all like Plaza. I think this will open and be a beacon, not only to the
Yeah.
south, but I think it's going to draw people that are coming in from out of town as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I've uh, I've been to a lot of different Chinatowns and urban centers. I was just recently in London and
Oh,
was
yeah.
surprised to see, like, right in the right in the center of things, and New York City, San Francisco, etc. So that's all. And I went to Chinatown in Flushing, in Queens, which I think is very different from what, like a standard tourist expectation of Chinatown, Manhattan is like. So,
Exactly. Yes.
um, yeah, and so I'm looking forward to, yeah, that cultural aspect of being a, for our entire Nashville, and the visitors that we get here, who hopefully will leave Broadway during their visit and come and see some.
Exactly. This is a great thing to do. You could stop in Antioch on your way if you're going to nearest green or heading out of town to uh, go to Jack Daniels for a
Yeah,
tour. This is just one this is just one extra stop along the way. Extra
right.
things to see about what makes Tennessee great.
Good, good. Do we have any questions from some of the folks on the line here today?
That is exactly what I was about to ask.
You could type it in the chat if you'd like, or just come off mute and ask.
And feel free to ask me about anything that I've mentioned or anything that I haven't.
Yeah, yeah.
And if not, I do have a couple of other things I can share.
Oh, yeah. I was going to ask you about, what were there challenges within Metro for this idea? Because I think every neighborhood, every district is kind of competing from the same pot of money for different things like, pothole repair and sidewalks and lighting and, you know, um, housing grants, things like that. And so maybe you can give us a quick kind of, what your thoughts are on how those projects are I don't know the process at all, really.
Well, I'll tell you, interesting that you're asking the question now. So yesterday, we as council members every year in October have to submit our capital improvement budgets. Those are our wish list for our districts. We can include things for the district, but also other people's districts, because sometimes we have a need for something in another area that impacts us. So there are 5 districts in Antioch. So one of us might say, hey, I really need, a police station, which, we're now getting. That's in District 28, but then the rest of us will say, we support that. And so we get our wish list in now. And after the beginning of the year, we do a prioritization list. So basically, we all have access to it, and it's about determining what are the projects that will get addressed in the capital spending plan that the mayor will then announce, in addition to what he wants to get done, including some projects for us. So the budget Hunger Games that take place in June, I will say this term, we really haven't had that kind of drama. In my first term, there definitely was an element of, I want my thing, my way, and I don't miss that. So um, we're a lot more collegial, I think. And so if you just share and say, hey, I really need assistance. For example, Richland Library, the council member currently plus the previous council member have been begging, please, can we get a new library? We're desperately in need of a new library. And so now we're all, committed to try and get Richland Library. And now it's on the list to get done. And it's really as many hands that'll go on a plow is how we get things accomplished. Oftentimes, if only one council member is aware of an issue, it's harder to get it addressed without having multiple people to back it up and say, yes, this is an issue for me as well. It needs to be taken care of. And I saw a question in chat here. What will be, hello, Jean. What will be the transportation to the area if people don't have a car? Will we go stop by there? So we already have transit here. Our transit center is not impacted by this upcoming transit referendum. We actually started receiving money from the federal government last year, and it's going to go in the parking lot in front of the Southeast Community Center and Library. So if you take a bus to the site, you would then be able to walk through the green space across the site over to Chinatown. And it may be, given that Chinatown is so popular, much like we are working on right now, is transportation from the Southeast Community Center over to Century Farms. We'll try and create something that's maybe a mini shuttle bus that goes from the main hub of the site over to the other side to Chinatown. Particularly in winter months, you want to have that.
Joy, is the green space existing, or is that part of the development to cut? Is that part of the transit center work, or will it?
No, it's part of the overall site work. We're
Okay.
actually getting ready to tear down the interior of the mall now. The tear down will officially start in the first quarter of the year. But we've had some issues. It's very old. The mall is a time capsule. So all of the decorations that you remember from the 80s, they're all still there.
There's a YouTube channel of this fellow that documents old malls where he just He just
Our
kind of
mall,
takes a walking tour through them and the fountains and the, the unfortunately so many shuttered stores and things like that. But there was a certain look that if you grew up in the 80s, you know it when immediately.
well, hanging out at the mall, being dropped off for multiple hours and say, okay, it's 2 o'clock. We're coming back to get you at 6. Be right back here to get picked up because we didn't have cell phones. So you needed to
Yeah.
make sure you had a watch and you were in your pickup spot at the appropriate time. So very
Yeah.
interesting.
Good. Good.
Are there any other questions? And Jean, did I sufficiently answer your question?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Oh, hello, Joe.
Um, what is the estimated American Asian population in Davidson County and Middle Tennessee in general that would use or would have access to this to these facilities?
So I do not have that number for you, but if you'll give me a second, I am going to reach out very quickly to someone who was the president of our API association. So I will answer the next question while I wait for the response to your question, Joe. One moment. Hi, Lee. Thank you for that question. How likely is this to happen given so many other proposed projects for the area have not come to fruition? And I think your question speaks to what I referenced earlier today, which is when the area went significantly downhill and we lost all of our big box stores, we lost a lot of our restaurants, and then we just kind of became a place that time forgot. We are no longer that Antioch. As I often tell people, we are the new Antioch right now. New Antioch has development and has investment, has market rate apartments, has Tanger outlets. These are all things that you couldn't imagine being here 10 years ago. And so that's just the tip of the iceberg in the beginning. So this is already underway. Permits have been pulled. Planning has the plan. So this is coming our way.
Great. Betsy, did you have a question?
Thank you. Yes, I do. First, I just wanted to thank you, Joy, for being here today and commend you for moving to Nashville and getting so involved for running for office. And clearly, you're bringing a lot, representing your district well, and that's really exceptional. So I've enjoyed your presentation a lot. One thing I'd wondered is there anything planned for this center, Chinatown, that would provide an educational component to it, for language school or anything like that? I think there is a Chinese school, sort of that some children of Asian descent go to, like on Saturdays, sort of a Chinese Saturday school.
So that is
I
not
didn't know if there would be something like that available.
That hasn't been discussed as of yet, but I also know that there's still space open and there's conversations about what the additional needs are for the facility in addition to what they're proposing. So as I was mentioning, the API organization, which is the Asian Pacific organization here in town, they are working with the developers as well to talk about the needs, because there were multiple groups within Asian culture that were wanting to have a go-to place. So now they're all trying to collaborate and say, hey, did you think about this? Did you think about that? And make this place super comprehensive. And to your point, having an educational component is something that may be being discussed. Has not been shared with me, but I definitely will take it back to the developer. That's a question.
Well, it might be something worth exploring. And just lastly, I wanted to thank you and the rest of the council, I guess, for their support for the Richmond Library. It happens to be my home library.
Oh, good.
And it's a wonderful little place, but it's just too small, and it's well used, and that's great for everybody to come together and support that project. I look forward to watching it develop when that got started. So, and thank you
Excellent.
again.
Well, I'm the former chair of the Arts, Parks, Libraries, and Entertainment. We call it Apple Committee now. So the council member that represents your area is now the chair. And
good.
so we have been talking about our list. We actually created an initiative list when I was chair. We had about 18 initiatives and we got 15 accomplished.
Wow. That's a successful effort, I'd say. So, well, thank you for that. Thank you for your service to the
Welcome.
community. Absolutely.
Joe, did you have another question?
No, I didn't. I was just curious as to uh, what the background was to come up with the idea to build a Chinatown uh, in Antioch, in Antioch, or in really anywhere in Nashville, Davidson County, and that's the reason for my question is, is there a significant um, Pan Asian population in Davidson County, Middle Tennessee in general? Was there a petition or anything raised to build this type of facility? I'm just curious as to what the run up, so to speak, to actually build this facility.
Well, Joe, I'm happy to.
Who's it going to be used by?
Yes. Well, it's going to be used by everyone. And I will tell you, there is a significant presence in the Asian community here in Davidson County, but also in Middle Tennessee. And so I'm waiting to get that number back for you. But I have Bhutanese, I have Chinese, Laotian. That's just here in my area. And that's not including as you're, moving further down Nolensville Road or anywhere else in the city. And there are several organizations that are operating without home bases per se. And having a Chinatown becomes that focal point for them. So one of the things that is being discussed is, hey, what is this open community space that different groups would be able to use to host events, have conferences that are culturally based?
Okay. That answers the questions. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anyone else have any questions? This has been delightful. I'm so glad I came.
Great. Well, thank you for accepting our invitation. Getting back to Bessie's discussion of language school, this past summer, I became aware of Voces de Nashville on Nolensville Road, which is a community center of sorts, and primarily, I attended Spanish language classes for 8 weeks there, and I learned that it was a federal grant program that provided, training for women, native, first language speakers of Spanish to provide them with, marketable skills in teaching English as well as, teaching me Spanish, so I'm just passing along that as an example of one of the successful, language community-based, small scale kinds of involvement that might be a possibility similarly for the Chinatown development.
Well, I will tell you, in addition to Chinatown, I'm also working on looking at land that I have in my area for another cultural center, kind of a la Plaza Mariachi, but another space where all of these different cultures can come, because I've had requests that say, well, hey, can we get a room that's dedicated in the library that's just for us? And I'm like, no, unfortunately, like that's for the whole city. It's for everyone. So you just have to make a reservation. But if we can build a site that is just a cultural compound, then it's possible for different cultures to lease out a space within that building that can be theirs, that they can have functions at any given time. And so again, it would also be another opportunity to come to Antioch and see what's going on at that site as well.
Yeah, I've seen so many, successful kind of inroads into or innovative ways to think about, broadening culture and community, like Casa Azafran and the commercial kitchen availability for small businesses and food truck owners to be able to utilize to start their own businesses, or in East Nashville, the converted car wash that now has these starter restaurants in them, that some have gone on, have gotten their chops, so to speak, figured out how to do it and have moved on to freestanding places. So I have, great hopes for seeing a lot of, that type of creativity, as everywhere in Nashville. I think we have some really successful models of that happening in partnership with, you know, private money as well as metro support.
And that's something that we're planning on doing on the Global Mall site. So one of the things, so before we even did the Global Mall plan, prior to the city being involved, I had already been working with a different developer on a plan for the site. And so they had sent out a digital survey. We had gotten responses of what people wanted to see on the site. And so one of the things that people mentioned were a co-working space, kind of a micro co-working space for entrepreneurship, so people could get their businesses off the ground. Because Nashville State is on the site, they have a culinary program. So there's an opportunity for a community kitchen to be on that site as well. And definitely public-private partnerships to me are where it's at. It's not the whole financial burden being placed on the city, because the reality is we just don't bring in enough to do all the great things that we want to do. So we really do need to partner with people that are already doing it, and also have access to cash in a little bit of a different way than we do, to get some projects moving forward. So you'll start to see that, but you'll probably see it in an amalgamation of ways. So might be at Chinatown, but maybe it's over at the Global Mall, but that's all the same community.
Yep.
It's all connected on Hickory Hollow Parkway.
Great. Well, we just have a few minutes left. Do you want to share any other big things that you're free to share with us, or
Sure.
advocate for interested folks on the call?
Well, I'm also the chair of the Women's Caucus, so we have taken the last few years to really put our stamp on things. Last term we were historic because we were 50% women. This term we're historic because we're over 50% women, with 22 women on council this term. And then we have been involved in investing in a variety of programs for women and children, and making sure that those particular groups aren't left behind in conversation. So we've been working with the United Way on childcare deserts, giving them funding to do $200,000 we gave this year to do a comprehensive countywide study to see where the childcare deserts are, how much childcare is going for. As you all have heard, it is really rough out here for childcare providers, and that's center-based as well as in-home care. So we are committed to working on childcare as well. We've been working with the Sexual Assault Center on their initiative called Safe Bar. We've been working with the Community Resource Center and getting products into our high schools. So I'm really proud. When we first got involved with Safe Bar, there were several bars on Broadway that weren't interested in having training to look for potential assault. And now, as of a few months ago, everyone on Broadway has signed up or has been trained. So it's a very exciting outcome. I'm also one of the co-chairs for the Pet Caucus, also known as the Pet Policy Working Group. And so I've been committed for the last few years to get a new MAC facility. It is 20,000 square feet, which is so inadequate for a city of our size, and they are working at capacity all the time. So we're working on getting a facility built that's 70,000 square feet, and so we can increase our programming and just make it a cleaner and healthier facility, and take a lot of stress off of our workers, because it's hard to maintain an at capacity facility. And so we had 500,000 set aside towards design this year. We're trying to get another 500,000 added to that design work so we can move forward. And it is my fervent hope before I leave in 27 that shovels have gone into the dirt to
Yeah.
get started on that.
Well, we might have to have you back on the pets and care and humane services are always important to a community's overall quality of life. These are all things that are related. Yeah.
Oh, and then the other thing that I've desperately working on, of course, is also, public safety. So we had an incident in the Greenway, which is in the district next to mine. However, license plate readers really would have come in handy. So really, I've been pushing for that since 2020. So I'm still really actively pushing to make sure we voted for them to be used and that we're actually getting those tools purchased and placed. Because public safety, again, to your quality of life, everyone deserves a good quality of life. It doesn't matter what part of town you live in. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It's about how you pride in your neighborhood, right? Maybe you live in a small house with a small footprint, but you're proud of it and you want to keep it clean and your lawn mowed and all of these things, just as much as you would if you had an acre of land and you had a large home. It's all about having pride and feeling like my neighborhood is valued. We all care. We're all pitching in, and what keeps that neighborhood safe and clean and beautiful.
Yeah. And so I wonder too with some of those, like a PR campaign for for Nashville neighborhoods, where things have changed a lot over the last 20 years and rapidly in the last 10, and even like just lightning speed in the last, since the pandemic. I know, the evolving face of, East Nashville, of course, back in the 70s, that was a no-go zone, and Lower Broadway was,
Look at it now.
yeah, look at it now. And Nolensville Road, I'm seeing, so many more vibrant businesses around the Thompson Lane area, an investment in that. And, so, and I think that, like you say, Antioch gets a bad rap, but I think that's all sensational. I mean, I hope that the vast majority of it is that, there's things that happen that, if you only got your news from Facebook, boy, but having some of those positive things as part of a concerted campaign about all the adjacent areas of Nashville that are great places to visit too.
It is important to encourage everyone to go, not just downtown, not just to East Nashville, but there are gems everywhere. There's something to do in every corner of this city. What it's important, to your point, is to really get the word out there, and so making sure that when other parts of town are being discussed, we're also part of the conversation. And so for me, as I mentioned, that website, the city website that says things to do, being on there so people know. And we're starting to see a change in our demographics. So we're having the people that currently live here, and we've got people that are moving from outside, whether they're moving from out of town or if they're moving from in town over here, because we are starting to provide a variety of housing types and also experience, right? The apartment complex is right across the street from Tanger. It's a place people want to live. You want to be able to just walk across the street and go to Tanger if you feel like it.
Yeah. Well, we'll have you back to talk about housing maybe in 2025. I'm sure that topic's not going away anytime soon.
This is true. I'm actually trying to work on a pilot out here for tiny homes.
Yeah.
not
Cool.
for the homeless, but for the grad student that just graduated and can't afford to buy a home, but wants to own something. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the retreat property in Mount Eagle, but it's a tiny home
Yeah.
resort.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time there during the pandemic, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is so great. But there are people up there that have moved there permanently, and they're living in tiny homes. And so, whether you're just coming out of school or maybe you want to downsize, it's an option, and it's something that we really haven't explored too much. And I feel like it's an opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear more about that too. The tiny home revolution, I know, kind of butts up against, International Code Council and local building codes and all
It
kinds of
all
stuff.
depends
But
on if it's on a permanent foundation or not.
right,
That's the
right.
kicker.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, this
Well,
has
again,
been
thank you.
delightful and happy. Karen, my co-host, she and I say, hey, we got to do something nice, to wrap up this year. Hear about something that's good and brings a smile to your face and thinking about. We've it's been a trying year, right?
Yes.
So,
I was just watching a commercial for John Stewart for Indecision 2024 that I thought was hilarious, but also accurate, apropos. So
yeah.
we'll see. We're gonna make it past Tuesday. We're all gonna make it past
Yep.
Tuesday.
We will. We will.
Well, I hope
Well,
you all
and
have a wonderful weekend.
yeah, and you're always welcome to join. We're here on the first Friday of every month. Next month, we're going to hear from John Gilder, who is with the Harpeth Conservancy and also has his own kind of conservation advocacy angle. He is currently navigating in a canoe the entire length of the Duck River.
Are you
And
kidding?
yeah, and documenting the environmental impact of drought, as well as the torrential rain, how that affects riverside, riverbanks when we have that erosion from drought, and and the impact on the wildlife and microcosms there. So always good to know stuff going on outside our little small world sometimes that we live in our neighborhoods. So thank you so much for joining us. And I hope to see a lot of you back next month, and we'll have another full schedule in 2025.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.